FightHype.com here on location at the Kambosos compound with a man that's sort of been talked about a lot, Chris Bakis. Welcome to FightHype, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Mate, you've got a lot of people talking. You've come back into the team. Just want to talk a little bit about your role and the past that you've spent with George Kambosos, and then we'll get into what you've been working on. And mate, tell us a bit about how you started with George and how far you go back with him.
We go back a fair way, actually, when George turned pro. So he was introduced to me through a mutual friend with his dad. Started off with strength conditioning sessions, but then branched out into a lot of technical stuff, a lot of corrections that he was bringing in from the amateurs into the pros that needed to be made. Things just escalated from there. We gelled, you know, and just a lot of things that was passed on to George, you know. He just soaked them up and took them on and produced the goods with all the domestic fights, so yeah.
How's it been for you, mate, now, the last 4 months, coming back as the head trainer, and your thoughts on what you saw in the last fight and the George Kambosos that you've changed a lot without giving too much away over the last 2-3 months?
Yeah, look, for me, coming back into the camp was a great privilege and a pleasure, you know. I've always admired George, always had a close relationship with him and a bond. You know, looking back at the first fight, you know, from a trainer's perspective, there was a lot of mistakes that were made to the build-up to that fight, which were compounded, and just it never gave George really a good chance of winning the fight. So, you know, for me, I was there viewing what was going on in that first camp, and like I said, a lot of mistakes were made. And yeah, so given that opportunity to come back for this rematch and be involved with it and make some great adjustments with George together, and see him pull them off through training camp, through sparring, and now hopefully through the fight on Sunday, will be a dream come true for me, you know.
Talk about the new team, Jim Kambosos, the father, the manager, obviously George also his own manager. Talk about the new adjustments that they've made in the team. Some certain individuals have come in, very, very different team to what they have, very quiet. This COVID sort of style military mission that they're on, underground here in an undisclosed location. Talk about that and the feel inside the camp.
Yeah, look, obviously Jim, you know, has always been there by George's side throughout the get-go, so he's always got the best interests for George. You know, me being involved in the camp with George, we sat down with Jim and George, you know, and we sort of came up with a plan and a formula to go into this fight, and we just kept it low-key, focused, laser-focused, you know, and kept moving forward from there, strength to strength every week. So the build-up's been amazing, you know, like everything's gone perfect, from the sparring, you know, to his nutrition, to his strength conditioning, all the aspects, you know, all the technical stuff that we've been working on, the game plan. So there's so many weapons and variety of attack and defense that we've got that we're very confident we're gonna be very successful on Sunday.
I've been around George a while myself, a couple of other people that have seen him as well. Jim, his father, made reference today that this is the fittest and the strongest he's ever seen him, more stronger than Tiafomo, more fitter. Do you see that as well? You know, the guy's already down on weight already. He doesn't look drawn. Your thoughts on that? Yeah,
definitely. You know, like I said, nutrition's been on point. You know, the weight cut has been beyond perfect. So yeah, just like any aspect you look at it from, George has done it at 110% for this fight. So yeah, like I said, I don't think the Haneys comprehend what's about to happen on Sunday. I honestly don't. You know, they honestly don't understand the kind of person that George is and the kind of camp and environment he's created for this fight. So yeah.
Thoughts on Devin Haney today and Bill Haney? Bill seemed a bit animated and he was a little bit pumped up Some say he was drawing a little bit of the limelight away from his son. What do you see in their team? And obviously Devin Haney is a boxer himself, and what he's going to bring on Sunday.
Look, his dad is, he's someone that's very vocal and just carries on a bit too much, takes the attention away from his son, like you said, which is a negative thing. Devin Haney, as a fighter, I respect anyone that jumps through them ropes, and boxes. So on that side of things, I respect him as a fighter, but do I think he's an entertaining fighter or a fighter that's dangerous? No. Very one-dimensional, lives and dies off that jab, and if you take that away from him, he's going to be in a world of trouble.
Your thoughts on, without giving too much of the game plan around, what is going to happen on Sunday? How do you feel, and your prediction? Obviously, you're going there to win. You believe you can win, and my thoughts and my question is, how are you going to win?
Well, look, that's a hard question to answer due to the fact that everything's been kept on the lowdown. So, how we're going to win, everyone's going to have to tune in on that Sunday and appreciate what we bring, on that day. So, but I'm predicting, as George's trainer, that I think George will stop Devin Haney.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be a massive turnaround.
Yes.
From the first fight.
Yes. Massive. Yes. And I don't doubt it, because, like I said, I've been there through this whole new camp, and I've seen how much he's evolved, and how many more new weapons and how many more skill sets he brings to the ring. So I honestly say that without bravado. That's just being honest.
Chris, talk about, was it, and it was hard for me as well, and other people that are close to George, but was it very frustrating you back on June the 6th watching that fight, knowing that that George can fight so differently, you know what I mean? Was it, not having a go at his ex-trainer, but was it very frustrating for you that there was really no game plan, there was no changes throughout the rounds? It was sort of, maybe Javier was a little bit overawed by the situation. Your thoughts on the ex-trainer, without disrespecting him too much, but, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I watched the fight, and that was not the George Kambosos that I know and a lot of people know in the boxing world. Very flat-footed, just waiting to react off what Devin does, yeah. So, and obviously that translates back to the training, back to the camp. So obviously things weren't trained and programmed into George to get through that jab, get around it, and take the victory. So yeah, unfortunately, that's happened. It's in the past, and now we look to the future on Sunday.